Hello, and you're watching Bent TV. We are broadcasting from the traditional lands of the Kulin Nation. My name is Erin Kyan, pronouns he, him, and today I am joined by Miranda Sparks.
Thank you very much.
Pronouns she, her, and we're going to talk about writing trans characters as trans authors for trans audiences, but also like cis audiences, I guess, they can come too.
Nice to have the token cis hets in the crowd.
Yeah, it's nice to have some. So Miranda, tell us a little bit about your work.
Well, probably my biggest claim to fame when it comes to writing, particularly writing trans characters, has been the web serial I've been publishing on and off for the last, 10 years or so.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, it was known under a different name. It was known as Shimmer for a really long time, but I actually changed the name to the main character Glimmer Girl because people kept asking me, "Oh, so you write Shimmer Girl?" No. But Glimmer Girl is the trans superhero that I really needed to exist at the time when I started my transition, and that sort of thing didn't exist in comic books, and still for the most part doesn't exist in comic books. Like, there have been a couple of attempts made, but nothing has really caught on as yet.
Yeah, and even the ones that exist aren't usually very, like there was, I can't remember her name, which I think says a lot, but there was a trans woman on Doom Patrol way back in the day, but no one remembers her. Like,
Her name is Coagula.
You know. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not a comics person. I don't know this stuff because I write a serial podcast, a fiction podcast, which is kind of a soap opera, although I find people don't like me describing it that way. I think people have some ideas about what soap opera means. It's just slice of life, like, but there's magic in it too. And when I wrote it, again, I did that same kind of thing. I was like, well, I never see trans male characters that get to fall in love and be leaders in their community and like, you know, just have good lives. And that was a huge part of why I wrote this as well. Because there just isn't a lot for us out there, really.
There isn't. And, you know, Glimmer Girl was great for me because, well, I considered her hopeful at the time. Sometimes I actually go back and reread the stories and it's like, wow, I really make her suffer. But that I think is the prerogative of an author.
It is, and I also think that trans narratives are always so tragic. And even when we're trying to do something more positive, because I know Glimmer Girl was also to do something hopeful and good, we don't want to like paper over the reality either. I know that because in my work, I write a very soft, fluffy story, but that's bad stuff still happens sometimes. And I always worry about that. But like, I don't want to pretend otherwise, you know?
I find when it comes to addressing real-world prejudices and real-world struggles, that there's a lot of nuance to it that we often don't see depicted in media. For example, my experience seeing a lot of trans women on TV, you know, usually involves some violent aggressor, you know, who's yelling something, you know, slurs something, you know, particularly violent, or, you know, even assaulting or murdering her, and that's usually how it happens. And so the conversation in media is largely around that kind of violence, but there's more subtle things we can look at as well, like, you know, the anxieties about existing as a trans person, what places we can go to, what places we can't go, how we're perceived versus our own perception of ourselves. Legal stuff is a huge thing that I definitely delve into with Glimmer Girl. One of the fun things I love to explore in the story is you've got her civilian identity, Kira Cade, who is out loud and proud as a trans woman, and you know there's a lot of people who are like, you know, oh hey, that's great for you, just sort of keep it away from me. And those same people would be looking at Glimmer Girl on magazine covers and being like, she is so hot, I would do anything to be with her. And that sort of juxtaposition of, you know, how a non-trans version of herself versus a trans version of herself is perceived. Yeah. So those sorts of nuances are things that I love to explore.
I mean, I get that even from an audience perspective, the trans male lead character in Love and Luck, a lot of listeners cis listeners, I should be clear, don't realize that he's trans, even though I mention it in like the second episode. But because he doesn't outwardly go, I am trans, cis people don't perceive him as trans until they get a long way in. And I get messages going, wait, is he trans? And I'm like, yes, welcome to the program. And it's interesting watching their perspectives. They don't usually change a lot, but like, I've actually come to enjoy that because I feel like these people are getting that experience of when someone you know comes out as trans from a fictional perspective. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
When you write Glimmer Girl, I'm really curious, who is it for and what are you trying to tell them?
Well, it's actually for me.
Yeah.
More than anyone else. And it's for the young woman who didn't have that hero.
Yeah.
If anyone else is interested, then that's just gravy, as far as I'm concerned. But it has, picked up a bit of traction, and it does appeal to a wide array of audiences. There have been some reactionaries who've said, what does the purpose? What is the purpose of this even existing? And I'm like, well,
the old classic, why are they trans though? They don't have to be for the story. And it's like, well, because people are trans for no reason in real life. Actually, turns out.
I often ask, why does a character have to be cis?
Right.
Is the question. I'm writing a project at the moment, which is it's the geekiest thing ever. It's pastiche vampire Power Rangers. Is the best way I can describe it. And I'm currently approaching it thinking, which of these characters are trans? I know some of them are. Maybe all of them are? I'm not sure. And there's the part of me that's just thinking about not referencing it all and just moving on and saying, oh, some are trans. But then I worry that I'm turning into J.K. Rowling.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to worry about that, but I do understand the fear.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Miranda, where can people find Glimmer Girl and your work online?
I post everything to my blog site, mirandasparks.com.
Awesome.
You'll find a lot of my fan fiction there. You'll find my radio stuff with Joy as well. There's everything. Basically, it's all concentrated into one.
You're a very busy woman.
I'm a very busy woman.
Miranda, thank you so much for coming to chat with me today.
My pleasure.
This has been wonderful. And you're watching Ben TV. Thank you for watching.